Hello everybody, my name is Retro, coming at you with a brand new video. I am well aware that this channel is approximately, well, about a decade old at this point, and it's probably crazy to most that I would even consider creating something like this after so much time has passed. However, this video is not going to be quite what would be the norm, I suppose, for this channel that most people would come to expect. Instead, this is going to be more of a reflection on what this channel was, where I'm at currently, and why I would even bother to create a video for this channel after so much time has passed. Now, to be clear, I'm still uncertain if I actually want to create YouTube content again. Right now, I'm an adult, completely different phase of life, surrounded by completely different people, completely different core beliefs. I've grown a lot since the last time I uploaded a YouTube video. I have a lot of new experiences, as well as just in general, I feel like I've gotten better at a lot of the things that I would try to do back then. Like back then, I was absolutely terrible, in my opinion. I definitely wanted to do YouTube. I definitely wanted that dream to be a reality. However, I never took it seriously enough to really go anywhere with it. I still remember I made two comeback videos. I made a comeback video in 2017, and it was just kind of cringy. I wasn't really being real. I was trying to put on a little bit of showmanship, which was inspired by YouTubers that I was watching at the time. This aura of maturity that I wanted to come back with, but it was all superficial. And then I created another channel called Retro, which don't even bother looking that up. That doesn't exist anymore. But I tried to make a comeback video on there, and well, like I said, I just wasn't really taking it that seriously, and I just ended up cussing a lot. I pretty much dropped an F-bomb every 2 seconds. I kept on doing like fake little gotchas. I was just being really cringy, and sure enough, it never went anywhere. Two return videos, neither went anywhere. The first one I at least made a couple videos after that, but they were both slop. They're privated for a reason. They're not really worth keeping around. But yeah, this channel's legacy is pretty unimpressive. With that being said, though, I don't know if I want to come back to this channel or create a new channel or what. This is kind of just to dip my toes in the water. And the reason I want to do this is because, well, like I said, I stepped into a wildly different direction in life that kind of took me away from a lot of the creative aspects that, just came naturally to me before I left, or before I went into these different directions. And to be blunt, basically I joined the military. Did about 3.5 years. I'm still in the reserves, and it's been great. I met a lot of great people, learned a lot of cool stuff, learned how to be an adult, learned how to function as a person. But with that being said, it took a lot of time, a lot of personal time that I would have to engage with hobbies like this. And truth be told, now that I'm through all that, now that I'm through the ringer, I just realized that all I do is consume. All I do is play video games, all I do is watch TV shows, and doom scroll on social media. And you know what? I realized that that's not really like for me. It's not a very fun way to live life. So with this, whether it's going to be on this channel, whether it's going to be on another channel, I'm not sure yet. Um, I just want to get back in touch with my creative side. And as you can tell, this video is pretty unedited, which I already think is a huge improvement from where I was before, where, I would just get behind a mic, sort of scramble to get my thoughts out, and sort of do these quick cuts, or I forget the exact term, but basically just cutting up the dialogue to make it seem less stuttery and uninteresting, or less stuttery and more smooth, I guess, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I'm noticing that I'm just better nowadays at just talking, getting behind a mic and just talking about whatever it is that's going on in my head. And I think that I have the traits that I lacked before to make this hobby into something more creative, something more personal to me. Um, Admittedly, I am very rusty at a lot of things, and the game has changed quite a bit. YouTube itself probably isn't going to last much longer, so this is purely out of passion as opposed to some kind of pipe dream that you have when you're a kid that doesn't really go anywhere. But what I did realize was that I loved the video making process, and even though I did love it, it never went anywhere because, I just was a stupid kid. I didn't know how to manage my time, manage my grades, manage school, and all these things at the same time. But now that I'm in a different position where I can approach these situations with more maturity, with more balance, I'm actually kind of curious to see what I can do now. With all that being said, I'm not entirely sure what the move going forward is. I'm just going to be making content whenever I feel like it. Maybe I'll find my niche, maybe I'll find what I specifically specialize in. All I know is that I am a professional yapper. I love yapping. And looking back at some of the stuff I was able to accomplish, even back then when I was a kid, I made some decent edits here and there. I was starting to really feel my way around these various programs for editing, 3D rendering, graphic design, as well as other things, and you can actually see that be reflected on my channel at certain points where I uploaded speed arts and stuff. That was mostly just because at the time I was leaning more into graphic design. That was my hobby. That's what I found a lot of joy in doing. And it was an easy way to just create content for the channel as well. So that explains those videos. But the biggest challenge for the immediate moment is just going to be figuring out how to accomplish some of the things that I was able to accomplish back then, such as creating thumbnails or video editing, just things of that nature. Luckily, I was able to remember, the editing software that I used back then. But yeah, with all that being said, I've pretty much said what I wanted to say. In short, I'm thinking about making a comeback. Maybe not on this channel. Probably not on this channel. I don't think it would be wise to do it on this channel. I might do one more video on this channel just to tell everyone what channel I did go to for those that still care. But yeah, other than that, I hope you all have a fantastic day, and capiche.